Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for returning, and I hope everybody's weeks have been going well. I'm sure a lot of us have seen over the last few weeks the markets have been a bit rocky. So, with that in mind, we have a bit of a more serious, more ominous topic to discuss known as the Black Swan event. So, what exactly is a Black Swan event? Well, it's when not enough people like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and it can't grow fast enough. I'm just kidding. But the channel does have some new promotional materials here to encourage more subscriptions, which is the most important part. So subscribe. More on that later. Anyway, so what is a Black Swan event? Well, it's an unpredictable event that can't be foreseen by statistical analysis or by standard predictions of past historic events. So, why Black Swans matter? And this isn't the start of a movement, so don't worry about that. Anyway, so this actually comes from a book about Black Swan events. So, 3 features of Black Swans are rarity, massive impact, and retrospective predictability. So, the last point, we explain these events on hindsight as if we could have foreseen them. These events very often cannot be foreseen, and they're often major events with a massive impact and rare at the same time. And this comes from this book, but this just was a good graphic that I thought would help illustrate the concept. And this is an example chart of several historical Black Swan events in the market and how it affected the S&P 500 performance. Most recently that we can relate to in the last 15 years, the global financial crisis of 2008, 57% drop in the S&P 500. And then the Rona up here at the top right, a 29.5% drop. Now, the interesting thing, after the Rona, the market recovered immediately like that. It was the fastest recovery we've ever seen. So that's what we hope happens in these situations. And the important part is to always remember to stay the course and to not give up when investing, because the market historically always recovers. How long that takes, we don't always know, but historically it always recovers. So remember to stay positive and focused on the overall objective. And these are some other events. 9/11, Black Monday, which actually happened in 1987. That was the biggest percent drop at the time for the S&P 500, I believe. And it was like the market reaction to a new Fed chairman coming in. Anyway, TMI, right? So, sorry about that. More information about Black Swan events. They have severe repercussions, cannot be predicted well in advance. They're considered as catastrophic events that have a high level of impact on the global economy. All the science, logic, and astrology, that's the most interesting. That's my favorite way to predict markets, using astrology. Not really, I'm just kidding. All the science, logic, astrology. Oh, this isn't very good grammar, whoever wrote this. I'll have to work with my editor to fix this next time. All the strategic planners and thinkers do plan or predict the occurrence of such events. Anyway, you get the idea. This wasn't a very grammatically correct slide, but... And there's the Black Swan. Now, obviously, if you haven't figured out yet, what makes a Black Swan different is most of the swans are not that color, so it's kind of a rarity. That's why, hence the term Black Swan event. And I don't know if you can see here, but funny, hello market gains. It's targeting the market gains. I keep trying to make the lighting better. So, does this pose any significant headwinds for investors? Well, like we've mentioned so far, September was a rough month. We saw some significant declines in the S&P and the Dow and the NASDAQ in the month of September. And so far in the month of October, the first couple trading days were a rough start. There's been some ups and downs. The past couple days were up, but it's been kind of a back and forth. And we've had several events that have kind of driven this going back to mid-September. We've had the Evergrande crisis, which I've referenced in a couple of my other videos. And what this was, to get into it now. So Evergrande, however you want to say it, it's a Chinese firm, real estate firm, that announced suddenly that they wouldn't be able to meet their debt obligations of approximately $300 billion, which, if they were to default, it would have a massive effect on the global economy, because we see China has a footprint in a lot of stuff globally. So a company like that, with that big of debt, not being able to meet their obligations would have a significant effect. It would be similar, as some have said, to the Lehman Brothers collapse in 2008. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I know that they're trying to work with them to make sure that they can meet those obligations, and hopefully that doesn't happen. So, and then the debt ceiling negotiations that have been going on. So every year or two now, Congress has to raise the debt ceiling, because it's a known fact the government spends more money than they take in, so the debt ceiling has to be raised. It's always a contentious discussion. There's some that don't want to raise it, and eventually we all kind of realize that it does have to be raised, no matter what the merits of raising it versus not raising it are. It has to be done for our credit rating as a country and whatnot, but I don't want to get political here. But bottom line is, it has a massive effect on the market when it stalls, or if it's not raised, it would have a very massive effect. So for the time being, it looks like they've come to a short-term agreement on raising the debt ceiling. And then Fed tapering is something that has been in the news a lot. So what's been going on for the past couple of years, the Fed has kept interest rates at virtually zero. And eventually the party's over. The party has to end, like you see here. This is the Fed Chairman Powell. When the Fed pumps massive amounts of money into the market, into the economy, in terms of keeping interest rates low, that props up the market and keeps it going up further and further. But eventually the party has to come to an end, as interest rates have to go up. Otherwise the economy overheats. And that's the Fed's main role, is to try to stabilize markets and the economy, keep inflation as low as possible, and promote full employment. So tapering means they would start raising interest rates and tapering back the monetary policies that have helped the market go up over this whole time. So these signs and some others all point to an increased chance of a Black Swan event. And just to cite an article here from, I believe it was Market Watch, an opinion piece, that typically the stock market's volatile. October history means it's time to steady yourself for a Black Swan event, is what this article was saying. And it emphasized that the most major market downturns have come in the month of October, which I've actually put here: the crash of '29, which started the Great Depression, and the crash of 1987, also known as Black Monday. Those events happened in the month of October, so we're hoping that there's no sort of Black Swan event coming. But if there is, as unpredictable as it is, we need to try to prepare ourselves as much as possible and keep the faith and know that things will recover regardless of how bleak they may look for a brief period of time. And with that being said, I added again a chart of the S&P 500 over the last 30 years, showing how it's consistently up, even though there are events that cause it to go down. Some of them you see cause it to go down quite a bit. Over the long term, it's up 3,500% over time. So that's a very strong example of why, as investors, we need to stay the course, keep the faith, stick to the strategy, and don't panic. That's really the key. And with that, again, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I look forward to more positive video topics in the future. So thanks everybody for staying tuned to this, and hopefully that was informative for you. Thanks.